like to call Finance Committee meeting to order, and then we're going to get started. I'd like to introduce Amanda from Columbia Green Community College. Hello, how you doing? I think you know everybody pretty much, right?
Mm-hmm. I gave her a cheat sheet too.
Yeah. I just need faces.
Yeah,
So I'm going to leave this up to you to get started, and we can jump in and if you don't
Okay.
mind, we'll ask questions or whatever. Go from there.
Just let me know when you need
Yeah.
switch.
I first want to apologize for canceling last month. We had this, unfortunate thing of laying 17 people off that Friday, and I didn't feel that it was very well to come here without everybody knowing that that was going to go on and give a false pretense of what was happening. So that's why
Right.
I did not come last month. I also wanted to let you know that I passed out a separate sheet because today I found a formula error in the 2024 numbers. So unfortunately, as much as I would love to think that I saved $2.something million in contractual expenses year over year, that is not what it is. So I brought another sheet for everybody to look at. So what I wanted to go through today is just the breakdown of what I give to my board each month, and then also wrap it up with exactly where the college is at right now financially and what we're looking at as sustainability for the future. So stop me at any time, or if you have any questions, just let me know, and I'll get started. So on the first page is the warrant. This is a warrant that Chairman O'Hara signs each month that actually talks about the total disbursements that are dispersed from the college each month. I just want to point out that the total disbursements for February were $2 million. This amount is comprised of your personnel, benefit, equipment, and contractual expenses of $1.6 million, financial aid awards, and cash exchange. And cash exchange has to do with the fact of when we receive money to and from the association and the foundation to pay us back. That amounts to $392,000, and grant expenditures are our workforce cash disbursements. So we pay out cash disbursements every month for Workforce New York, and then we receive reimbursement from the DOL for those. So that's where the $23,000 comes from that. On our second page here, the statement and analysis of cash balances.
Yeah, bro.
Is that the one that you checked?
Oh, yeah,
Change
nice.
that.
I use my old one. I'll copy one. Thanks.
Sorry. You're gonna stay on that page. The student, I just want to provide some context on these revenue sources that are here. As you see, like revenue, other revenue, student tuition and fees, things like that. The student tuition and fees number that's on this sheet of $152,000 equates for in-state, out-of-state, non-resident tuition and other service fees that fall into that category. The other revenue consists of interest earned through our investment account. We actually do not have a formal investment account with like a Goldman Sachs. We leave it at the Bank of Greene County and we get about 4.something% interest. So we move all of our money into that account and just keep the bear that we need into the operating account to make it flow and transfer to and from there each month, calling it our savings, because then we take the interest on that money each month and roll that into our operating account until we can have more cash flow to be able to invest at a higher level with like a Goldman Sachs or something.
Are you sure you're getting over 4% right now?
Correct, we are. We check with them all the time on it. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, Bank of Greene County token.
Correct. Yep.
What is that? Is that in just a basic money market, or what is that?
It's like a mutual funds account is how they call it. Yeah. Yep.
And you
So
can draw off the,
we take the interest every single month. So it loads the interest at the end of the month and then
how
I
much is
just,
in there? How much is in there?
on here, it's going to show you right now is 3.225 2.1 at the end of February. So that's that investment account.
2.1
Cash
million.
balances, yeah.
Okay, I just thought-
Yep. The cash pass-through accounts that you see here of the 190,000, that has to do with funds due from the CGCD Foundation or the association and reimbursements from Greene County Construction for our capital projects from the phase 1s, 2, 3, and 4 that we were doing from the $18 million bond from 2019 that we had.
Well, you're on that. How about the $1 million that we got from D.D. Barrett?
We're working on that right now.
Is that money still?
We're going to draw that from DASNY actually. So they keep the funds until we're ready to break ground on it. Yep. So we're working right now to actually resurrect that because When Diane Topple had left, I didn't know where it had left, what we were doing with it. And it basically, we just put a extension on it and we didn't spend it or anything or do anything.
So
we're
where,
actually
where is it
working
gonna
on
be
right now.
spent now?
We're gonna build the addition onto the construction tech building. That was initially what the money was for, the $1 million.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and we're gonna have to come up with about $400,000 of that. Now, granted, when we did the estimate on it, it was about $992,000 it was gonna cost us. But of course, with inflation, I'm sure it's gonna be more money than that now. But we actually just picked that back up because we have a new person in our maintenance department too, buildings and grounds. So he's working on that with DASNY to get the blueprints and everything ready to go ahead and do that. So we've been sitting on it until this point
Thank
in
you.
time, yeah. The grant revenue that you see down here has to do with the reimbursements for the workforce related expenses paid by CGCC. So what I do is Workforce New York will run expenses through our accounting department, and then we draw down from the DOL to be reimbursed for those monies that we pay out as their fiscal agent. So that's where that revenue comes from. So it's basically just a payback to ourselves. And then after February's disbursements of $2 million, and the bank charges are our credit card processing fees for taking tuition payments and everything, even though it says bank charges on there, they're credit card processing fees.
$7,000?
Yes.
Do you pass that to the students?
We do not. We are looking at that to see. That is something I'm going to talk about later as well. Our fee structure for our technology fees and everything really haven't been updated in about 6 or 7 years. So instead of doing an increase to tuition this year, because we did last year, I want to up those fees. Like, we don't charge for an online fee now. So we're trying to realign our fees along with what the SUNY systems are charging now, because they're very, very short compared to what they can be. And that is one assessment that I made, was that we need to.
Is that
raise
through the Bank of Greene County, that credit card? system?
That is through Nelnet, and then
Okay.
it dumps into the Bank of Greene County.
Okay.
Mhm.
Because many organizations, especially government organizations, you can pay by check or cash, but if you're going to pay by credit card, you're going to
Yeah,
pay
and-
at 3/4.
and that's a big-
Government had to do it.
Government does.
Yeah.
The town does. I don't
Yeah.
know if the school.
I would-
The school, it's either or.
Good idea to maybe follow that. suit.
Yeah, the problem is that with the students that we get in, do you know what I mean? And the cost of tuition, we're raffling with the fact, do we charge that or not? Do you know what I mean? Additional on top of it, because a lot of people do pay with credit cards nowadays, but it is definitely something we're looking into because.
But I think they probably could pay by check,
Mhm.
but the convenience
Make
of
it
a credit
easier.
card, but if
Sure.
there's that fee, they're going to mail you a check instead.
What is
Correct.
the,
And if not, then that's up to them to pay the fee.
how much was paid by credit card?
Total dollars, because that's not that much for a year.
No.
That's for
really.
the month of February.
Well, that's for the month.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what-
Usually it's a 3 or 4% that the credit card
Oh,
company charge. So.
Depending on what volume is, you do,
That's, yes.
Correct. And we do a
volume-based,
lot
yeah.
in credit card.
Yeah.
We
So I
absolutely
mean, that
do.
times 12 months,
So books, like if they're buying books and all that, is that also with the
Mhm.
credit card? And we don't charge a fee for that either. Wow,
No,
that's eating up a lot of.
So you don't know how much the even for the month was for credit card?
the credit card fees for the month. were
No, the
7.
fees, but how about the dollar amount that was?
I
charged?
have it. It's actually, I don't have it on me, I don't think, so, but I can get it for you. But I definitely think that it's definitely an option. The Bank of Greene County also talked to us about the fact that they could work with us on a program that stabilizes our fees and actually makes it a flat rate as opposed to a variable rate.
Doesn't make sense, because it's like, you're talking about $20 million worth of credit card charges, maybe.
Mhm.
It's roughly like
I'm talking about annual.
$250,000.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's what
if you
I'm saying.
backdoor it, yeah. And it depends on what kind of credit card they use. If they use American Express, sometimes it's
More
more.
Discover,
Yeah,
more as well.
Discover.
Mhm. Yeah, so it's definitely something we're looking into because it's absolutely a possibility. It's just, I think because we raised tuition last year, we were trying not to put it on the backs of students again this year, but looking at other fee structures of work.
But just to be, also, Bank of Greene County's credit card fees are not the best. I mean, if you're gonna stay
You
in
can
the
go
same
out.
current structure, you should be looking at other
Okay,
credit
yeah,
card
no, I'm
companies
absolutely
that,
looking
that
for,
you could pay
A lot cheaper.
way
Mhm.
less than that.
no, I'll absolutely write
And
it down.
actually, if the
check it out.
volume is up, actually, they will.
Especially if you're doing, the more volume you do, the lower the rate you get.
Well, you
So-
said it was through what? Not.
Nelnet, but then it
Nelnet.
dips into,
They give you the
It
units
costs-
and
But
everything.
it's done through Bank of Greene County.
So
it
does the
subs
bank
out to
charge
Nelnet.
plus? No.
no,
No,
it's
that's a
Nelnet
separate-
itself.
Yeah.
Separate company.
Because like court wise,
Not
it's
through Bank of
3%.
Greene
No.
Stripe.
They're just putting the
That's
money in
their-
there.
Right,
I
they just
understand that.
Melnet dumps it into Green County.
Yeah, well, they all. do.
Yeah, and now that's through, you know, the
Yeah.
SUNY system, a lot of schools use it as far as a reimbursement program for fees. and
So in
things
the
like that.
food industry, just so you know, the law has changed because I'm in the food industry. I have to show my prices that include credit card. Like you can't charge, you can't say my meal's $20 and then add 4%. I have to have that in the price. I can discount for cash.
Oh, okay,
So
That's
that could be a potential way to do it. You say this is what it would cost tuition if you pay with credit card
Cash.
and cash is this much of a
Yeah.
discount.
no,
And
that's a
that'll
good
help to
idea.
promote to get people to pay
Some people
cash.
still have
They're gonna
checks.
say-
Mhm.
Well, check is, check is
Yeah.
cash.
Well, they need to pay
As long
with
as
credit
it
card
goes
because they get mileage, they get. you know,
Anyway,
all that
Okay,
kind of stuff.
go ahead.
The next page is our cash balances. The ending cash balance in February was 2.8 million. The cash balance in January was 3.3. So there was a decrease of 525,000. But as of this morning, after receiving pending receivables that we were owed, the current fund balance is at 6.5 million. So we've definitely raised that up since the time of this
So
report.
now it's up to 6.
6.5 million as of this morning, yep.
What brought it up to that level?
State aid, we got our county share payments.
Okay.
We also got paid for the prison education program, some money. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we were waiting on a bunch of receivables coming, and our foundation reimbursed us. They actually were able to package this year $995,000 worth of student funding, so students could go to school and have, you know, if they had a small balance left over, the foundation covered the remaining of that. And that comes from a grant that we're so helpful to get from Hudson River Bank and Trust Foundation. They give us $500,000 a year to support our students who get to make it through college. So it's really a fruitful program to go through that. So as far as the federal aid page looks grim for the month of February, because we don't get a lot of federal aid in the month of February. So slightly over 3,000, but year to date, federal aid is 1.4 million. And the federal aid includes your Pell, your VA payments, and your loan payments. We did just actually receive in this month an additional 1.3 million towards the federal aid for this year, because this was a big month for billing for the spring semester. So
Has your board or anyone had preliminary discussions on the U.S. Department of Education and the funding that you rely on, such as Pell?
Yep,
And
we are starting
programs
to.
that are cut or diminished?
Absolutely, we are starting to have those conversations. I mean, obviously, if there is no Pell, there's going to be a lot of schools that are gone because we rely on Pell. The only hope that we kind of have is if it was taken into 2 stages, and that would be second chance Pell going first, right? So for incarcerated individuals, because that's probably lower hanging fruit on the Pell spectrum. But we're definitely working on talks of what does that mean for us. That's actually where President Drummer is today, meeting with SUNY and the chancellor to get the latest updates on what's going on as far as federal funding. So, but yes, it's definitely a worry. You know, but myself as a accountant, I have to think that we have to stop the bleed and peel the onion apart and figure out where it is, right? And how do you do that? You stop things and then restart them to figure it out. I do the same thing at the college, you know what I mean? So I have faith in the fact that, you know, hopefully it doesn't go away, but you know, at being in government, I'm sure you have to figure out where that trail is first to be able to even establish anything. So
There's only so much pie.
correct, yeah. So
Got absolutely right.
so as I said, I updated you guys for page 5, so it's not correct up there of the revenue expenses, and it's because the 2024 numbers came into the spreadsheet wrong. So what I passed out to you is actually the correct. Like I said, I wish I had saved about 2 million in contractual expenses, but realized today there's no possible way.
Right.
So,
Can I ask you a question? Are we looking at this one? right?
yeah,
So you say budget, is this budget through February 28th for 2025?
that's the budget for the year.
That's the yearly budget.
Mhm.
Okay.
Correct, yeah, that is our yearly budget. So revenue is down 295,000 year over year, but we're awaiting payment from the prison education program of 403,000, and we just billed out for county chargebacks of 1.07 million. Our chargebacks completely increased a lot with the prison education program, because before we would always charge for the prison that they're in. Right now, they actually passed it that we can actually use certificate of residency of where they were before they were incarcerated, which actually increases our chargebacks, which so right now we're owed about 600,000 in chargebacks for spring and 400,000 in revenue for the prison program. We're in Green Haven and Green Correctional Facility. Now, obviously, with the volatility of the prison system right now, we are looking to see what we can do, because as of yesterday, Green, we're allowed to get paperwork into them to study, but Green Haven, we are not. And that's where the majority of our students are. And when the strike actually came to fruition, we still don't know if all of our students are still in the same prisons they were in before the shutdown happened, because they've probably been moved and things like that. So, and we're the people of last resort to go in. So even if visitors are starting to come in, it doesn't mean that the education system's coming in. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, about how I'm changing that in our budget structure for this coming year, because we cannot count that as revenue source. We can count it as a thank you
Right.
later on, but it should not be a steady stream of revenue in our budget, because this is a prime example of what happens when you do that, right? We could be out $1 million is what's going to happen if it can't go through. We had three ways that we could still work with the prison program. We could run a 21-week semester.
Mhm.
And just start a little later. So we're hopeful for that. And all the other SUNY institutions that work with incarcerated individuals are going through the same process and holding out hope. We can withdraw them, or we can just give them a incomplete grade. Now, one over the other, and it's a shame I don't have Provost Walsh with me, because she knows the difference between, if we do, I think if we withdraw them, then the third party company would be on the hook for the
Right.
money, which then really makes our relationship with them not too great after we do that, right? So we are holding out hope. We are getting material into Greene County, and it's funny how it works. We have to deliver it in the parking lot to them so they can still get their studies done. But Green Haven does not allow paper in the cells of the maximum security prison. So it's interesting.
How do you deal with that in terms of hiring staff? Because like if you don't know if you have revenue, how do you?
We hire adjuncts, but yeah, it is
So
an
they're just
issue.
like, they're just like maybe don't get paid until the class happens.
Correct, yeah. We were able to teach for about 3 weeks, and then the shutdown came.
And so the contract with the adjunct is written that like
They don't get,
they just like don't get paid for 2 weeks because of that.
That would be a question actually for Provost Walsh,
Okay.
because I'm not sure really how that works. I would think that they're not going to get paid if they're not teaching, but, this is unprecedented times for the prison program. So
Yeah.
I don't think we ever thought it was going to go in this direction. So, but yeah, I mean, and then we also have, teachers who actually teach at the college who teach there as well.
Mhm.
So, it's a combination of it. And some classes might still get canceled if you have like an art or music or something that you have to be in person for. We're going to have to accommodate and adjust for them anyway. But until we can get into the prison, we don't even know if all the individuals, we have 160 enrolled right now, if they will be in the same location or not. And then if not, we have to find them either another SUNY institution or figure something out. We have about 40 graduates this year from the program. So our expenditures are up 865,000 year over year. Our employee benefits increased by 633,000, and contractual expenses increased by 114,000, which I'll speak a little bit about later, about how we're trying to level out these expenses.
What's the
moving
biggest
forward.
part of the 864,000?
That's the employee benefits.
so they doing much stuff on travel? I know I did see that there was a lot of travel being done by instructors and stuff like that out of state and all that.
Not particularly. We don't do a lot of travel out of state. I know Provost Walsh and I are going to AGB next week, which that's our accreditation board. So we're
Mhm.
going to that, but there isn't a ton of travel that's done
Mhm.
within the institution. If there is, we put it through professional development. We create a budget on that. And we actually have a new program called CETL, the Center for Innovation, Teaching and Learning, that actually is offering professional development to our, current faculty there. And we're leveraging the money for CETL off of the foundation. So the foundation gave us $175,000 to support the initiative of training up our faculty.
What was the travel budget for this year? Do you know?
I don't know. I can get it for you though.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
like-
Yep. Mhm.
I got some questions here. I'll give to you.
Yeah,
One of them
absolutely.
was the breakdown of that travel budget.
Yeah.
I saw.
Mhm.
Amanda, why was benefits up so much?
They had to do a lot with the fact that we had an increase by 6% for Highmark, and then also,
Is that your prescription?
Yeah, all that stuff. So, but we were able to leverage that, and I was gonna speak about it a little while. We moved 91 retirees to Medicare this year. We had 91 retirees on our
And
current
are-
health insurance.
Are
plan.
the buyouts you gave people, is that reflected in those numbers for the salaries, or is that somewhere else?
That is in there. Some of them are not done yet, so they're taking the buyouts over time. The faculty has to stay until their contracted date of 8/31. We did have 11 people. We offered a retirement incentive, which I was going to speak about too later, where we offered it to 18 people and 11 took the plan. They were offered half of their salary for the next year. And you know, that was the first round before we went to layoffs. We were trying to do something to
So
actually.
all these people that you're laying off, are they gonna be replaced, or you just, taking some out, you know?
No.
Making it smaller by attrition?
Correct.
or-
We were told by SUNY that our student to worker ratio is way too high.
So,
and out of whack. So I was at the delegation.
these amount that you're getting, the people that you're getting rid of now, the employees, none of them are gonna be replaced? Or,
There's some that are going to be replaced, but it's stagnant. And then there's some that are combined roles. And then there's a bunch that we're not replacing. There were 17 people who were let go. We always hired a like for like, you know, somebody leaves, we hire somebody in the same position, but we really didn't look globally about what we needed. Do you know what I mean? For our size of our institution. And because 48% of our revenue is external sources, which we need to change, we need to get more people in the building because that's a volatile strategy, is to have everything outside. 30% of that's college and the high school, which pays a third of the tuition, and the prison program. So you need 3 college and the high school students to make 1 FTE. So 18% is the prison program, which we can go up to 24% on, but our strategy, and that was one of the things SUNY, because we speak to SUNY every 2 weeks to their CFO up there at SUNY, Josh Sager. He's an alum too of Columbia Green.
Right.
We have different strategy conversations with him about what to do in the future and where we're going with things. But he's the one who said to us, you have way too many employees for the number of students that you have.
What's the salary range of the 17 people that will look up?
So what we're gonna end up saving is, sorry, I got it back here because I was gonna go through the whole cost savings when I got to it. From April to August of laying those people off, we're gonna generate 469,000 in immediate savings. And I stayed,
what's the
pretty-
buyout price to get rid of it? What's your cost on those?
So that's factored into there, though, you're
the
saying.
buyouts were something different,
I know
so,
that's something.
yeah, I have that here too.
Separate.
Can I just finish and then I'll.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
sorry.
because I'm like, I gotta be looking all over, you guys are gonna be all over the place, so let me just get through this, and then I'm gonna tell you all that stuff, because I also have what the buyouts cost us and where we're
That's good.
going, and
Fine.
I stayed conservative with my numbers, because I didn't want to talk about anybody we're staggering hiring back, because that isn't a true number to us, it's the number of the people we didn't replace, so. So the net excess over revenue is 1.16 million, which is absolutely a problem that we're establishing, you know, parameters around that. I don't know if anybody heard that we imposed an institutional sustainability plan that we passed by our board in May of 2024 to really figure out how we stay sustainable moving forward and what that consists of. They passed the resolution and mandated us to do everything we could to be able to bounce back and move into the future for sustainability. So there's many pillars to that, and we add to that document every week of different initiatives we're going through. But that's really helped us get to where we are today, and that's why the last piece of it was the layoffs. So
Are you guys working on that internally, or did you hire a firm to help?
we hired a labor relations lawyer. That was the first thing we did when Provost Walsh and I came on, because we realized that we never had one in the past, and we have 2 different unions. We have a faculty union and we have a staff union. And unfortunately, we need to rework the contracts, because as we're saying about the healthcare, right now the contracts state that each employee in those union contracts pays $1,000 a year for a single, $2,000 for a double, and $3,000 for a family plan, and it's specific dollar amounts. And unfortunately with that each time we get an increase, it affects us.
Yeah.
So contract negotiations are opening up in 2026 for the staff union and 2027 for the faculty union, where we're really going to look at these contracts to realign them to where they need to be and make that a percentage as opposed to a dollar amount, because it's not helping us at all.
If you're having difficulties, you know, with revenue versus expenses, et cetera, and you say SUNY came in and said, we should get rid of 17 or 18 people. Why isn't the college acknowledging that prior to SUNY coming in?
Oh, we
And
absolutely did.
saying, so why isn't the college getting rid of those people before SUNY says that?
Yeah, so what happened was, sorry, we started meeting, so I came on in, Provost Walsh came in on October. I came in November of 2023, right? We realized in January, SUNY called us and wanted to know why we lost $2.3 million in 22-23. And the reason for that was we hired Campus Works, who's our second largest vendor for our IT infrastructure that I'm sure everybody has heard
That's
about.
that whole thing that we talked about,
Yeah, last time.
that none of us could understand, and we never got more information on it. And it was.
It was gonna prove
was-
savings.
It was gonna save money, it was gonna help with communications between the students and the faculty, and we questioned and
No.
questioned and questioned it, and we were promised that that was gonna be a huge savings to the college.
When we came on, we watched 12 months of Campus Works. Today we have SUNY, iTech, and CECAS at our school right now, establishing how we get out of that contract after 2.5 years. Because after 12 months of Provost and Walsh and I taking this job, we realized that we don't see the benefit of having Campus Works here, and we need to get out of
Just so
that
you know
contract.
too, and I'm really not happy with a lot of this, what
Mhm.
this group is, but we asked for salaries, we asked for where all that money was going, and never got updated reports. I realize you're new, in about a year, if I recall, last year you came here. But we never got updated anything. Anything we've asked for, we haven't gotten, including last year, when you were here, we asked for salaries, a list of salaries, not just a block number. I've never to
I can
date
send
seen
them
that.
over to you
I
today,
understand that, but that
absolutely,
was
and
a
I
year ago.
apologize for
I
that.
still haven't seen those numbers.
Because I'm absolutely not hiding anything after
I'm
being
not
here for
saying you're
like,
hiding anything,
yeah,
but I'm
no,
just
for
telling you
18 months. It was.
what our
it took us-
experience has been sitting
Oh,
in
yeah, and
this
I don't
seat.
want your experience to be like that. I want to be, this is why I want to come
So,
even more
What we're gonna
often to.
do is just to help that situation, so it
Mhm.
doesn't happen before our budget, right? I'm gonna give you some information here. Jim's gonna reach out to you for some. We'd
Absolutely.
like to get that information prior to when we start talking
Mhm.
budget. And our budget structure wants to be a little different also, you know?
I wanted to know too, yeah, actually how you would like the budget
Well, we
spelled
want to
out.
see actual, prior
Absolutely.
year, this year, the whole thing proposed, this,
Yep.
so we can do a budget correctly, not based upon just numbers that are put on a piece of paper.
I
You know
absolutely
that, but you
agree.
can't-
Yeah.
We
And I
gotta
went
have
back
that.
and I looked and that budget was actually used, that same template for many years.
Hmm.
So I don't know if Diane provided anything extra that maybe was helpful. So if you guys have that, I would.
Usually
love to
she would
see it.
add other stuff into it.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I got you here and you're going over these numbers. The capital chargeback reserve account, how much is in that now? Do you know?
1.6 million,
Okay, and who's holding that?
Green County.
Green County, okay.
Mhm. And I've actually paused drawing money from that because of a new president coming on, and also
Mhm.
for the fact of having a new person in buildings and grounds to really identify what we want to spend that remainder of money on.
Okay.
So,
Do you get that yearly or is that just built up as far as time?
nope, that's a reimbursement program as well. So it's not housed with us. We just get
Could
reimbursed.
you let it build up if you didn't use it?
And no, that's all that's left to it.
That's all.
Mhm.
How much we've been pulling off a year, do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I can get it for you because it didn't happen. I stopped spending on it when I came
Right.
on because I wanted to make sure that we were actually putting it towards what we needed to.
Right.
So,
Okay.
but getting back to what you're saying, so going through the timeline just quickly, when Provost Walsh and I came on, her in October, myself in November, we received the call from SUNY about the $2.3 million in 22-23, which made me take a really deep dive into what is going on. That's when they told us that our concurrent versus our non-concurrent enrollment are almost crossing each other, which they should not be. We need to raise our in-person enrollment. They also talked about, like what you said, the fact of the employees versus, what we have as far as students. We would have gotten to that point, Provost Walsh and I, without SUNY in there, but we had just came into the job. So it was really like peeling the onion apart and trying to figure out where we could save money, right? From there, we talk with SUNY every 2 weeks now to be able to talk about strategies, not only for finance, but also for, marketing initiatives, enrollment. We want to move into the adult market. There's 40,000 people in Greene and Columbia County that fall between the ages of 25 and 35 that we're not hitting, but we're trying to go for the 1,500 students that are in
Right.
9th through 12th grade in the two counties, which is not sustainable for us. So we need to change that model. So, and that's why I was hoping Provost Walsh could be here, because she could explain the program side of it, of what we're doing. When she came on, she realized the schedule was too large. We had too many programs. We had less than 8 people enrolled in certain classes where we shouldn't have. So we need to right size our organization that way on the program side. So now we fill up a class before we open a new class, which makes sense, which is a burden sometimes to the faculty because they like the fact that they could create their own schedule and be able to have the classes that they have. So it's almost like, I hate to say a Lord of the Flies, but you're trying to see if you can fill up one class before you move on to another one. So she's doing a lot of stuff on the programmatic side for it. So that's how we got to the solution of that was the last layer of us to be able to
Right.
cut expenses was employees.
Has any higher level administration gotten raises?
No, and we actually let go of our Dean of Academic Affairs as well. So it wasn't just staff people that were let go. There were 7 staff members, 5
So
admins, and
nobody
3
is
faculty.
on the higher side of the level of administration has gotten any higher raises?
No,
Okay.
no,
This 1.16 million that's in the red, does that already account for the savings of the layoffs and stuff?
no,
Or if you're
Nope,
saving
that happened in March.
500,000, that'll bring this number down to 6.
Mhm. Correct, yep. Okay, so just lastly on the balance sheet, the total assets are 4.3 million compared to 6.3 million in February 2024. It's because of the cash balance declining $600,000 and the capital spending delay that I was talking about that goes under due from county chargebacks because we have stopped that funding from moving forward right now until we can identify what we need moving forward. We spent a lot of money on deferred maintenance. Was a big portion of it. But I want to identify if that's still what we need to do or if we need to change course and use it for something else. So total liabilities are 2.9 million, which is an increase of 1 million year over year. That's primarily attributed to the payroll payables tied to the early retirement incentives offered by the college. That was around $500,000 that we paid out. So here's where I'm going to go with the upcoming changes for the budget year and what I am seeing right now. Revenue considerations, the prison education revenue. Like I said, CGCC will no longer treat prison education revenue as a guaranteed funding stream for 25-26. While this revenue has historically been included as a reliable source, the current volatility in the prison education landscape necessitates a more conservative approach. SUNY has formally advised against using these funds as guaranteed support system in the future. We're going to go to an austerity budget approach for this year. The college will operate under an austerity budget for 25-26. Unlike previous years where departmental budgets were rolled forward, this cycle will begin with a zero-based budget approach for each department. Budget requests must align with the core values outlined in our institutional sustainability plan with a clear focus on the expenditures that support enrollment and retention for the future. In the current fiscal year, we plugged $2.6 million from the fund balance to support our budget, a practice that's been in place since I could go back about 2015. This approach is no longer sustainable. Moving forward, we need to adopt a structurally balanced budget without relying on the fund balance as much as possible to close the operating gaps for this year. And that's what I'm going to try to do is drill that down as much as possible to not use that fund balance. Revenue diversifications. To strengthen long-term financial sustainability, the college is actively working to diversify its revenue portfolio beyond just the cost of tuition for students. These key initiatives include, we increased our facility rental fees. Those hadn't been increased since 2010. So if you were to rent out the arts building for the day, it was $185 for the day. We're now charging by the hour.
Mhm.
We also did not ever charge for what it costs for any maintenance or security to be on site for the weekend. So we have since rectified that. We're going to pursue federal and state grant opportunities. So we have including plans to hire a dedicated grant writer that will share support with the foundation. So we'll only pay half the cost for the grant writer. And right now, we're going to manage grants on behalf of other SUNY institutions, which will generate indirect cost recovery revenue for the college for managing those grants through SUNY. Cost savings and strategic initiatives. The college has realized an initial savings of $504,000 by transitioning 91 retirees from Highmark to United Healthcare. Additional savings are anticipated pending our upcoming policy renewal, as the shift will reduce both policy size and the high cost claim exposure that we had before. Recent layoffs and consolidations of departmental roles are projected to yield $812,000 in annual savings. From April to August 2025, these personnel changes will generate $469,000 in immediate savings. Combined total anticipated savings from healthcare and staffing changes will be $1.32 million when fully realized. IT infrastructure assessment. iTech, a SUNY affiliated IT service provider, is currently conducting a comprehensive view of the college's IT infrastructure. They're actually on our campus right now. My primary focus to them yesterday when I met with them is to get out of the Campus Works contract.
What is the full, enrollment if you had, what is the college, what's the capacity for in-person, what is the full enrollment?
What the capacity
Well,
is, I'm not
you know,
sure.
like-
We're at 1467.
I know,
right now
but
as
what
far
is
as
the most the
students.
college has ever had?
That I'm not sure. I could go back.
How many more could be in the school? Quite a bit more.
Quite a bit more. Yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
very low.
Yeah,
Is this the lowest it's ever been?
it actually is went up. We actually see increases in the spring semester. So we're actually tailoring the other way. But yes, it was the lowest that it was when we came on. Absolutely. We hired a new enrollment strategy team who's hit the ground running, and actually we're up right now as of today. I just took a picture of it. So
The number of staff hasn't changed in a long time.
correct.
What
That's
is that
the
number?
problem. The staff used to be 147, but that also includes our adjunct pool as well. So they're not on
For how many
campus all the
students?
time. 1467.
1,400 students, 100 and what? Staff?
With the adjuncts,
Which is almost like per diem staff.
yeah.
Yeah, correct. Yep. And then we had a new grant. So like I said, I'm not for Campus Works, and I haven't been since I came on. And after 12 months of realizing that I don't see the benefit for the money, I want out of the contract. I absolutely do. And I know that we can actually leverage support off of SUNY SECUS and SUNY iTech, who is our sister SUNY institution in Oneonta, to be able to have the IT infrastructure we need moving forward. They're doing a free assessment right now on our system.
So with all this that you're doing, do you feel you're gonna be able to replenish or stabilize fund balance by the end of this year for this year's budget?
Absolutely.
Because you've been using fund balance, every year.
Mhm.
Do you feel that you're still gonna have that amount of fund balance to offset your budget also?
No, I don't want to have that at all. So that's why I want to start zero based and move up from there.
What do you, in a projection, I know this is kind of hard with everything we got going on, but on a projection, where do you think your fund balance will be at budget time?
I'm hoping it's going to be around like 4.8.
Okay.
But I do think, we are seeing a shift in where it's changing now, and it is increasing. And once those layoffs had happened, we'll foresee more.
Mhm.
The problem is with the IT infrastructure is we pay $1 million for Campus Works a year, plus we have an IT staff, plus we have a media service staff. And we also pay SUNY for our platform.
I was gonna ask about the SUNY. What's that group? What are we talking about?
We pay
You have a ton of-
$219,000 a year
Yeah,
for
I
them
knew
to
that.
run out through them. But what happened was when Campus Works came on, we canceled our support contract with them of $40,000 to take on Campus Works. I want to get that back.
What's that support look like to you for the money? I mean, when you reach out to them or they reach out to you, are you dealing with?
A direct person. Mhm. And they brought a team of people, about 14 people here to identify our IT needs.
How do you make up the $1 million on the jail program if that falls away?
Good question. We're gonna have to see how it falls out, but I don't know if we can during this semester because of the fact that we're so far into our budget year.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So we're supposed to meet again in May, I believe.
And we can meet again April if you need to with the additional questions you have. I'm fine to come every couple of months.
I have
Absolutely.
some questions here that we put together, and I'm gonna just give them to you. Whoops, excuse me. And, maybe you don't need to answer them now. You can just get back to us with that. But I do want to talk about our budget time, and we do want actuals, we want proposed, we want prior years,
Yeah.
we want it done, so we can look at each line item and be able to know how much is left in that budget, where we are prior year, actual, right at this point, and where we're proposed gonna be for the new year.
Mhm.
The way we really should be doing budget, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're looking for, Amanda, all right?
Mhm.
And,
My goal here is to try to, I'm assuming.
we kind of feel like we've asked stuff, like Rob's saying, like we've asked for information and we really don't get it, you know, we get just parts of it. And, you know, if we can start a relationship where we can get this stuff and get it right.
And I also want you to feel that you guys can also reach out to me via email. I have my card with me, but you know, if you have any questions, just anytime, just.
Usually
completely
Jim
reach
will
out.
be the one, Jim Briggs, you know, be the one to reach out to you with something. And when he's usually reaching out to you, it's probably from all of us or some of us, you know what I mean, asking for that. So
It's hard for us to reach out, not because you're not available, but if we don't have all the data and all the real information, and we don't honestly actually know what goes on at the college.
Yeah.
You're coming here and I trust what you're saying, but we don't know.
Yeah,
So call and ask what, you know,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah, we
that's
need
the
that.
issue.
Yeah.
specifics to be able to
We
make
need more data,
Mhm.
you know, that we can review.
Once maybe we can get more familiar and get
would you,
tired of
so
it.
I can give you enrollment projections as well. We have a dashboard and everything
Yeah.
that actually shows where our demographics are and everything.
You
so.
can send that to Jim and then he'll get it out to the committee and, we
The
can.
breakdown of salaries would be helpful to me at least.
Yeah, some of that
Breakdown
is in there.
expenses
Yeah.
Would be helpful to me.
Mhm. No, absolutely.
Have you presented to, Green County yet?
That was my next stop. Mary emailed them today. I said, it's not fair that I'm just going to Columbia County. I need to go to Green as well. So
Were
she
you
said.
part of the last time you met with Green County?
Mhm.
Did they have similar questions, concerns?
No. But that doesn't mean there isn't concern, because there is concern. Do you know what I mean? I know there's concern. I'm trying hard. I'm an alum of Columbia Green Community College. You know what I mean? Like, this is
Yeah.
what I want to do. I want this college to succeed, because if this college isn't here, these students aren't going
We
to
all
school
want to.
anywhere.
We
You know
all
what I
want
mean? So,
Yeah, we're, you know, none of us.
Don't
here
ever get
see
that.
no, I know. I don't get that, but
We
I
just
can understand
physically,
the
we've gotta be-
frustration. I can
yeah.
absolutely understand the frustration. You know, we're looking for a new president right now, so that's going to be a different structure. So we went.
Is the president still there?
Yeah, she's there until June 30th.
It sounds to me like you share the concern, and maybe last year when you were here, you were pretty fresh.
Pretty
So
fresh.
you might not
Mhm.
have even had answers to some of our questions.
Correct.
And I think that we're
Sure.
just looking for
I
full
agree.
transparency, and it looks like you're on the same team wanting to,
Yes.
you know, and maybe some of our knowledge, Jim's and others
Can
can
help you
help.
also.
If we know all the details, we might be able to say, oh, here's a way you might be able to save money. Here's an idea. I did have a quick question on the fund balance. Your fund balance policy, and I don't need to know the percentages in the amount, but is your current fund balance and what you're projecting falling within what your fund balance policy says that it should be?
Yes. Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, maybe you can give us a copy of that fund balance policy, would be good
Yeah.
if you want to write that on it.
But the direction you're heading, as you've already quantified, that fund balance is gonna drop rather quickly unless you make some serious. changes.
Correct.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So this is not, sustainable.
It is
unless
not.
There's some serious changes.
It is not, and that's why there is serious changes. You know what I mean? The 17 people getting laid off was horrible. It was a horrible thing, you know, but we needed to do that to really get people in the right seats. Do you know what I mean? We had 4 people in a library that's hardly non-existent anymore. Libraries are, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just,
Did-
so,
Of those 17, did you have to bring any of them back?
2.
I heard that.
Mhm.
And then they laid off the other two, the ones with less.
Correct, less seniority. So the way that that works is, we should have probably, if hindsight, let the 2 people that were the last people in
Mhm.
go first. Well, it was
I
up to-
Surprised that the union would have allowed it.
Correct, it was up to the union head to give us those analogies of who that's supposed to be. That is the only department that can actually bump, because in their latest contract, you can only bump within your department. Each staff member was paid 20 days per the, staff contract, because they're given 20 days notice of layoff, but we didn't want any disgruntled employees there for 20 days. So we gave them those 20 days and 50 days based on our board policy, and we gave all of them 2 months of health insurance. So,
Okay. All right.
but I am with you, like, I see it, and I know that we can do it. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it's finding, you have to stop the bleed. You know, it's the same thing in our own government. You have to stop the bleed and figure out where the money is going. And it took a while for us to get there, but I'm as frustrated with Campus Works as you are. They were here before I came here. Do you know what I mean? I don't think Diane was happy. Topple, who was in my position before me, with taking on
Well,
Campus
I think
Works.
my frustration anyway wasn't even about what Campus Works has become. It was initially how it was presented to us, was presented incredibly poorly. And it was not presented in a way that we had any confidence in it, especially given the cost and especially given the amount of students you had. We didn't see any benefit to it.
Yeah.
And it was kept being reiterated, oh yeah, no, it's
Supposed to have follow-up with it too.
We were supposed to have follow-up and we had none.
Yeah.
Well, here we are, we were all skeptical and we were all right.
They came back a couple of times to explain it to us
Yeah.
because it wasn't clear. It was clear as mud.
And I don't want to speak for my predecessor, but I think that she didn't think it was a good idea either. I'm going to be honest with you, Diane Topple. Mhm.
No, but someone else that's.
And I think the relationship's frustrating because we can't say to them, you can't hire Campus Works, but we're the ones giving a lot of money.
Yeah, just
So
don't give
it's
them
like-
money, then they can't.
And when you
Right.
dissect that,
We would have voted no to Campus Works if we had the ability. to
well, when
vote
you
no.
dissect
We
the
didn't have the full
contract,
understanding, so.
you realize that they're going to give you support to figure out who to hire for a third company for additional costs. They're going to consult for you.
Mm.
They're going to give you a full-time CIO, and they're going to give you some support in the background. But now if we want to like reach out to SUNY, who we need to reach out to, because that's where our banner is through, that's our platform. We have to go through Campus Works to go to SUNY Secus and come back from SUNY Secus through Campus Works to get to us. And it's just not. And my advice to them yesterday morning was find me a way out of this is what I
And
want.
you're paying for that frustration,
Yeah.
$1 million a year.
Correct. So I completely agree. Some decisions were made before my tenure. So
So some of the information we've given you, if you can share that with us, probably later than later.
yeah, no, I can get this all from you.
Yeah,
That's
that's
totally
helpful.
fine and I can work on it. And I want to be more transparent because that's the way that it needs to be
Right.
in general. You guys
We
are
want the
huge
college to succeed,
supporters.
okay? You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not here trying to give you a hard time. We just.
No, we
need
just
to
hired a
understand
dean of
where
health
numbers are.
professions in January. We're going to launch our LPN program next spring,
Mhm.
which is going to bring in a lot of students
Mhm.
in the 4-credit program. We were going to start it off in non-credit till it went through 4-credit, but that would mean that those students wouldn't get Pell and we'd have to subsidize the cost of it through our foundation. So it's best to go into 4-credit because then honestly, it streamlines them into the RM program.
To be frank with you, with that $1 million that you got on construction, you know, I didn't think that was supposed to be necessarily used for a building. Because that building is pretty large, it's there right now, and it's relatively new. I thought it was supposed to be used to keep equipment by equipment and sustain that project, that whole construction project, but it sounds like you're gonna use it for, I mean, we really need another building there, yeah, here we
I
go.
know, that's the parameters around it, though. I can send it over you to look at. Maybe you're seeing something I don't see, because I'm
I
always
thought
looking for a
I
second
was
set
there-
of eyes.
I was there that day when that,
Mhm.
and I could have sworn it was given for other stuff than just adding a building on it.
Because I don't think
Because for
we,
infrastructure inside because there's stuff that needs to be.
because, one of the things we did was let go of our mechanic, because we're outsourcing a lot of our vehicles now anyway. It wasn't done in-house. And the thought of it is because he's the only person in that part of the building, we can use that for program,
Mhm.
right? So, I mean, that's why I built something else.
They used to wind up taking a lot of the stuff too and running it through the automotive program for repairs, which I guess they're not doing that no more.
They won't allow us to have our vehicles fixed there. That's another problem.
That's years back.
Who's that?
The faculty for the automotive program. And contractually, we can't change the program because those teachers are tenure faculty. So we either have to dissolve the automotive program or build around them, which we all know that we need mechanics, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna try to run a night and weekend program and build around them, but these contracts are what's sucking up everything. I hate to say that, but they're contracts that are dated back to when the school was profitable. And there were millions of students coming in, 2008, do you know what I mean? Like that time, or when I went to school and you had to park up in the packed parking lot. We really need to get these contracts under control as to being,
These are
you know,
union contracts?
correct.
So we can't work on our the vehicles that are in the college. We can't work on those in home. It has to be shipped out.
Mhm.
Now, that changed.
There's some business for the county, central garage.
I was just thinking that, Matt. I was just thinking that. Should be going down to the sheriff's department, right? We have a whole.
Yeah, we have to take care of, we have enough issues over there. I don't think-
About time we make revenue off the college.
Went right through my head. That's,
Okay.
So I'm wondering, since budget season comes way quicker,
Mhm.
maybe we invite her back with the provost in May?
We are.
We've already got meetings set
Got
up.
meetings set
For
up already.
May?
It's,
Yeah.
it's education. We just set up an education subcommittee.
Oh,
You
okay.
Probably got the
Yeah,
invitation,
but I
right?
can't make it.
Which is right before finance.
I missed that, sorry.
Yeah,
Then
Well,
she
we're
can
just a
provide you the
committee,
program
but,
side of it, and
maybe get it
thankfully,
out to the.
her and I are very
I don't think
aligned.
everybody's on
She's
that
just
one.
as budget conscious as I
No,
am.
it's
It's
just
like-
education.
who's running the college right now?
Finance and that.
Yeah.
They can be, yeah.
Yeah.
And then don't
And
take
anybody
another
can-
swallow.
I know, Dave's busy, really, you know.
Who's running the college?
I mean, I think
You swallowed
Provost
again, come on.
Provost Walsh and I are a lot,
By the
yeah.
way, it's on Owl right now.
It's all right, I don't care.
What's that?
I said the Owl is on.
So just, it's a,
Because,
it's a,
you know,
it's
she's
a
ready
good
to
point.
depart,
Who
you
is
know.
running the college?
Mhm. I'm
And
hoping
it's
that,
obvious that you have a handle on it, or at least,
yes, we also had a
Here's
town
your-
hall with our faculty on Friday to explain to them everything of why we got to where we are right now. So they're aware of everything, and I don't think they have ever heard the state of the college, ever. And it's a buy-in effort to get there, you know?
Okay.
I mean, President Drummer is great. She's just retiring. So yeah, Provost Walsh and I do a lot of the legwork. We're working tirelessly. It's a hard job. There's 3 of us in the leadership team. But we've been pressing on it. Do you know what I mean? That
Yep.
these changes need to be made in order to move forward.
What's the board comprised of? How many people?
7. Which we are losing our finance committee chair. Her time is up, Marianne Lee. She's been very helpful. She just held a finance committee workshop today.
She's good.
So that,
She's amazing. She's
that
amazing.
replacement would be a Green County.
Would be. We're gonna be Green County heavy for a little while. Yeah. Yeah, because Bruce
Go back,
Bozak
we put
left
that
as well, and we had to go Green County that way. So I am looking for a finance chair right now to
Well-
join me.
You shouldn't laugh for presidential candidates. I heard 80 applied for the Hudson Valley job.
Oh, did they?
So
Okay.
I'm hopeful our provost will take it. Because I think that we can stabilize ourselves, and not to say a new president would be good, fresh eyes, everything would be great. I just feel like we need someone who's gonna come in with their foot on the gas. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And be ready to work on us on building
just
it
don't let
back
them
up.
blow it up because our automotive department can't fix it.
right,
So
No.
ease up on the gas.
All
a
right,
little.
right, I gotcha.
As hard as it was to like break it down to the middle of the onion, it's that much harder to build it up because now we need faculty buy-in to move forward. Most of our teachers teach before noon. We don't teach on Fridays, and we have hardly any nighttime, or we have no weekend classes. So we need to change models.
I was always not.
Okay. I got a still more to continue
I'm
on.
sorry.
No,
No,
thank you.
no,
Look
thank you
forward to
very
seeing
much.
you again.
Appreciate it.
thank you.
And,
And
can
thank you
follow
for
up with that.
busting on me, because you know what? I need it sometimes.
Well, if you want that, he's good at that.
He does it to everyone. It's okay.
Okay, so we're gonna get started, on some resolutions. Resolution number 1. Effective 5/31/25, authorization to fill 1
Move
vacant.
it.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 2, effective 4/5/25, authorization to enter into an agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 3, authorization to approve the Department of Health's proposed policy for on-site waste facilities management and disposal.
I'll move it.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 4, authorization
Move it.
to award. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 5, authorization.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 6,
Move it.
authorization for the Health Department, transfer funds.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 7, authorization to contract with the Healthcare
Move
Consortium
it.
for implementation. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 8, authorization for the Health Department to renew a
Move it.
contract.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 9,
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 10, effective 5/1/25. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 11, authorization for
Move
the
it.
Department of Human Services.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 12, authorization for the Department of Human Services to contract with Healthy Alliance.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 13, authorization for the Department of Human
Move it.
Services.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 14,
Move
authorization.
it.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 15, authorization for the Department of Human Services to participate in the 2024.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 16.
Move it.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Have to read all of that one.
Mhm.
Opposed?
Yeah, that's one we still left.
Right, you know.
I know,
tell
thanks,
them to read
guys.
Some more, you know?
I could hear the rattling. going.
Yeah.
Public safety, resolution number 17.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 18.
Move it.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 19, authorization to fill one
Move it.
assistant public defender.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 20, authorization for the chairman of the board of supervisors and the director of emergency
Move it.
management.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number
Move
21.
it.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 22,
Move it.
authorization to fill.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 23, authorization for
Move
a
it.
salary upgrade.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I just wanted for the record to add that part of the agreement with this is that they're gonna reduce overtime, which is gonna help pay for the difference.
Hopefully
I tried that
she'll
arrangement with
offset that.
Dave Martin maybe 5 years ago or something, it didn't work, but we hope it works. you know?
Do we have folks to fill?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He feels, he has folks. The problem is with a lot of these security positions, he's losing people to private companies who are paying $30 to $40.
Even at the top number, or losing it. Yeah.
Because it seems like we always authorize it, but they come back up.
Yeah.
And I didn't think we were.
We haven't changed that salary structure in quite a while.
And didn't he say at the last public safety meeting that he was relatively close to full staff?
Yes,
I
yeah.
mean,
Well, with the six that he.
Well, with this
Yeah.
potential.
right, but I think he said he
He
had
did.
some people, I mean,
Yeah.
He did.
Oh, good.
that's miles
He
from last
actually,
year.
he actually has choices.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay, resolution number 24.
Move it.
Second.
Motion to second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. County government, resolution number 25.
Move it.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 26.
Move it.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 27, or resolution authorizing
Move it.
Columbia County.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Public Works, resolution number 28, authorization to award the bid.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 29, authorization for solid waste to fill one-time, full-time
Move it.
labor.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 30, authorization for the chairman of Columbia County Board of Supervisors to execute a utility easement
Move
agreement.
it.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 31, authorization for the chairman of the Columbia County Board of Supervisors.
Move it.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 32, authorization for the chairman of the Columbia County Board of Supervisors to execute.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
You guys are being too kind to him.
Opposed? Carried.
You should read all this.
Let's, you know, we get into some of these,
We'll be here a while. I'll start reading slow.
everybody wants to go outside and enjoy the sunshine.
I'll move it. Second.
That's number 33. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 34, authorization for facilities to purchase one new.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Economic Development, Resolution number 35, authorization for the Chairman of the Board of Supervisors.
Second.
May I have a motion and a
Hang on,
second,
sorry,
all in favor?
I didn't read this one, I'm sorry. I'm not opposed to it, but what is this? What is this?
Which is a piece of property down on, Office 66.
In the Commerce Park?
Yeah, that got missed in a survey somehow.
Okay,
So when folks are building out, there's a piece of property that didn't add up. They don't know why, if it was a old right of way
survey mistake or something.
or a survey mistake.
So they're adding it to what?
They're adding it to a potential new parcel,
A
Okay,
newer one.
a newer one. And they talked to both the person that orders it already and they weren't interested.
okay.
So it adds value to the new parcel.
Sure.
It's not a freebie. It adds value to it.
Thank you.
Okay, so resolution number 35, we have a motion?
Second.
Yeah, we have a
Second.
motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Number 36, authorization for the Chairman of the Board of Supervisors to direct Columbia County Industrial Development Agency to
Move it.
transfer sale.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 37, authorization to affirm the sub-repository agreement entered into and between Columbia
Move
County. Motion and a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Did I get it all right?
Yeah.
Number 38, authorization to approve the payment in lieu of taxes for solar energy systems between County of Columbia, Town of Germantown, the Germantown Central School District. We have a
Second.
motion,
I'll second it.
motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Finance, resolution number 39, authorization to purchase GPS tracker via the ETA mobile app for Columbia County public
Move it.
transportation buses.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Who's gonna monitor that? Anybody,
We are.
we're monitoring it, or
I mean,
Johnson? No.
there's not much to mine. It's more for the resident though.
It's gonna come on their phone. It's gonna be, yeah.
Oh,
So we know where the, but we can update, we can put messages on it, we can.
Oh, okay, I got you.
So if Michael cancels a bus run,
Yeah, we put it on the app.
But the bus company can use it too, right?
Yes.
They can, say they're running late or.
Right, okay,
I
They
had
talked about
questioned
that.
it, weather delays, all kinds of
right,
stuff.
right. Resolution number 40,
Move it.
Second,
motion and second, all in favor?
Who makes sure that those numbers are correct? Like, who's checking? How do we check that?
The Airbnb.
Well, that's the thing. Right now you can't. You get a number from them and you get it.
Right.
This new state law, we believe that starting in September, they're gonna have to provide that detail when they do the payment.
But there's no alternative. There's not the alternative of we're gonna do it,
Oh, there is, we can do it. It's.
but then we have to
We
stop.
will.
it's a lot more labor intensive. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Dutch just does it this way.
Yeah.
It's a lot less work for PJ.
Of course.
I think we should give it to PJ.
I'm getting enough.
Is there any,
This Granicus thing started out so simple. We thought we were just gonna get.
Yeah, I just wondered how you actually.
It's not, the state law actually complicated it.
Well,
yeah. Well, and that was my other question. Is like, this is Airbnb, then we have Granicus, so are they at checks and balance with each other somehow? Because Granicus
I
is
don't
helping
think
like.
so.
No, not really.
They're doing the address identification for us and tracking that.
Well, and looking at the different platforms, Airbnb and others, aren't they helping kind of compile
We have
a
to
list
vote on
of?
that, right?
Yeah, but we
Yes.
really would have no way to compare grant information with the number we can get from Airbnb.
What
Because
about
Granicus
VRBO?
contains all of them. Airbnb. But doesn't
They're all-
Granicus say
they're all-
these 7 are
But they might
Airbnb, these
list, they might
12?
list on Airbnb and Verbo and, someone can list on 4 different platforms.
And just because they're listed on Airbnb doesn't necessarily mean that Airbnb took in revenue. So they could be like, well, it only rented 2 days out of the year when in fact it was 5.
But all of the other rental agencies will also provide documentation with.
Under the new state law, I believe that is correct.
In September.
In September.
Oh, we're still peeling that onion.
No,
Yeah, it's
no,
been a while.
the other,
You guys have been working on that.
the other companies do not do this voluntary collection agreement. Airbnb is the only one who does it. The other ones are not interested in doing it from what we're being told. But Airbnb is probably between 80 and 90% of the volume in the county. So this will capture a big part of it.
So let me ask you a question. Airbnb rents a room. Let's make it simple, $100. 8% sales tax, $108. The $8 goes to the state.
Well, there's a 8% sales tax and 8% occupancy.
Correct, so,
This 8% sales goes
to the state,
and then
right?
circles back to us.
correct.
The 8%
Then it gets
occupancy
broken
goes to
down.
Airbnb, who then gives it to us.
So we're actually talking not 108 now, it's 116.
Right, well, I was just talking about the 8% occupancy. I know the sales tax, they pull it out of their account, so that's easy. So the other 8% they're holding in-house and then cutting a check to us. Because the state on sales tax pulls it out of your account every month.
Yeah, I forget if it was monthly or quarterly, I forget, but
I think it was quarterly.
Yeah.
yes, 4%.
And this
Oh, yeah,
resolution
we
is
said
saying
it's
we'll let
4%.
Airbnb track it and cut us a check. And we're gonna take.
And we're
their-
charged.
We're gonna take what
We have no
they
other
give
choice.
us.
That's what I'm saying,
No,
other
I
than
get that, but
hiring.
I'm saying it's sort of.
You know, a year down the road, we may decide to go in a different
Yeah,
direction.
Yeah, right.
I'm not saying anything we're doing here is wrong, I'm just saying it's a little bit
easier-
odd.
It's either PJ and for the people who own the houses, because they don't have to, if they didn't, they'd have to register to us, come into our website, pay our credit card fee and pay us.
And the last question I have is sales tax, business doesn't pay, the government comes in and shuts you down. Occupancy tax, does the government get
That's
involved?
part of what we're paying Granicus for, is to monitor that. We
can threaten.
We can threaten, we have the letter that can collect.
But not as much with the full weight of the state behind
Yeah, they
it.
could shut you down, right, sales tax.
We give
Oh, yeah,
them
they
a
come in, they
strongly
lock your
worded
doors.
letter.
How is sales tax, by the way?
Well,
PJ?
You know, if you wanted to roll that back, you know, if the towns like Stockport is gonna permit these people.
Right.
You know,
We are.
one way
You can
way
pull
to
their
put
permit.
teeth into it is the county saying, well, they're not paying their tax. And so we don't, yeah, we
Sure,
pull a
you
permit, we
pull
don't issue a
the
permit.
So we'll know specifically
They all
individual.
anyway to really enforce that.
So how would we know? Because if the individual Airbnb rentals, we're not gonna get that data.
So
It's like having salt some cars when you're already buying a ticket.
They pull, if someone leaves a comment or a rating
Yeah,
on a stay,
that's what.
that's how they pull it, that's how we know someone stayed there. If no one ever comments or any comment.
We have
stay
no
there,
idea.
we don't know. Unless the neighbors complain.
And I know there's gonna be more training on this, but from my basic understanding, either your building department's gonna have quite a bit of extra
Yeah.
work, or you're gonna, as the town, pay Granicus for some of their
No,
extra
we're gonna do it
services.
in our
The building
building.
department.
We already,
That's the word you're on.
You're doing it, you're doing
Our building.
Granicus, you're doing it.
we gave
internal.
our building inspector.
I had asked, Granicus how, you know, what's in it for us, what's the compliance? And they said they can do it through bad review. And people will comply because they'll be out of business. That's what they felt. That was the answer I got.
Well, I do think
That's it, word.
it's not every business works that way, but I think Airbnbs absolutely work on reviews.
That's what they,
You know, you can
that's
have a
what they
restaurant
felt.
that gets shitty reviews, but people locally say they go anyway.
Right,
But you know, if you're coming from out of town or going to an Airbnb, what are you looking at? You're looking at the pictures and the reviews.
Right.
I think
They were
Cambridge
good
is paying
hosts.
Granicus for extra services. Are there other towns that are going
We're
through
not.
Granicus?
Yeah.
Not to start, maybe down the road.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
think, in all fairness, I didn't think that the extra services were of any benefit. Yeah, they can help you collect.
It takes a
one of
little
them.
administrative work off your building department.
But they.
And depending on how many Airbnbs you have, 60, so I mean, you might be talking 5 to 10 hours a week of extra work on your building.
We're actually gonna add a rec charge to that.
Do you want to wrap this resolution up?
Yeah,
No, it's good. I'm just
How's
saying.
sales
don't
tax
forget what
doing?
we did.
We're up about 300,000.
oh, okay.
So
Okay.
we're heading in the right direction. Let's
Good.
hope it keeps going.
Do you have a first and a second?
We have a motion and a second. We
Yes,
haven't wrapped
we
this
Oh, I'm
resolution
sorry.
up.
Oh, yeah. We have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Got it.
Now you
Wait,
can.
I do have a quick question, and it might not be the right committee, but there was some resolution of properties. Where are we at with foreclosures? I know we were really, really behind with COVID, and we were on a track to.
County government dealt with that last week.
Yeah, we did approve to use that, auction firm again, but they can't do it till July, is that right? We did, I think it was July that they were
Well-
hooked up for.
By the time it goes through the process, okay, you have to get the judge to sign off.
No, we've done that, I think, but I think even the auction company told Chris that they were filled up.
We were scheduled for July.
They couldn't do it right away.
But how,
That's-
we were like 6 years behind with COVID, like, are we
We're on
less
2017.
behind? No,
17.
8 years.
Yeah, we're ready to
Probably get
move.
another one in this year.
Well, I just know in New Lebanon, like, we have a lot of properties that are probably on that list or should be on that
Right.
list, and we would love to have them not be eyesores anymore.
Mhm.
So If
So we're
there's
starting on
anything we
the
can do.
2018s now, you know, to go to court.
And can we do like more years at once to get caught up instead of doing 3 years at a time? Can we do 5?
Chris's goal, and not to speak, of was trying to do maybe 2 years per year,
Okay,
so to try to get close.
We
Just to
went
get
through
up
that
there.
years ago, but now the rules have changed, so it's a little harder, but we're figuring it out, but, you know.
and the law
yes.
doesn't allow you to skip, like if you have one property, you're like, I really need this gone. If you're doing 2018s, you can't be like, this one's from 22, because then it's
Right.
illegal. All right,
I think it's, my understanding is it's a fair amount of work to do it, so it's not, yeah, it's a lot of work without that much money back.
Okay,
The problem is the title searches, right? The title searches is what takes so long.
yeah, we have to do title searches on all of them.
yeah,
It takes forever.
If there's no other discussion, motion to adjourn?
Make a
Well,
motion.
that-
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Or- We got it, and you make it-
Yeah,